Hello, Sarah Sabin, executive coach and team coach here today. And I'm very excited to be talking to Robert Woolgar, who is CEO of Growler Energy based in Newfoundland or Newfoundland, Canada. Robert, welcome to this video today.
Well, thank you, Sarah. It's definitely been a pleasure to work together, and actually, Newfoundland and Labrador, the province of Newfoundland and Labrador.
No, I've been like pronouncing it Newfoundland in general, which I know is incorrect, but anyway.
Close enough.
Okay. So first question I want to ask you is why you felt that you wanted to do coaching with me.
Yeah, I think it really came down to timing. I think one from a personal point of view, but also from a company point of view. I just felt the timing was right. I saw, as we had grown over the last number of years, and as we built capacity, I did see the opportunity that if we wanted to get to that next step, this would have been a great opportunity. One from a personal point of view, but also a company point of view.
Mm. And something that I remember you saying very clearly you wanted was to go from good to great, which is also the title of a book.
which I didn't know at the time.
So I
But
think you've now read it, haven't you?
yeah, I have. And it's interesting because when we did have that first conversation, not knowing that, yes, that it was a book, but that was just the feeling. And I couldn't put my finger on it. And we even talked that when you had reached out on LinkedIn, you do get a lot of people reaching out on LinkedIn, but for some reason, for yours, your message resonated. But again, I think it was the time. I think we knew we were doing well in the space we were, but there was a lot more we could do. So I really just think it was timing, and it was the right time, and it was something now reflecting back on that, yes, was good that we had done it.
So could you tell me what you loved most about working with me?
You're a great person.
Oh,
No, to be honest, I mean, we really only connected over LinkedIn. We talked a few times, but there was definitely that connection of just being open and honest. And when you do these things, and now that as we've gone through it and learned, you can get a bit introspective. And it is good to know that when you are having those conversations, that you are in a safe place. You can be open and you can be honest. And I think that was something that you certainly portrayed early on, and yes, was certainly a characteristic of your one, personality, but also your delivery in how you do the coaching. So I think for me it was it was a very open process, an honest process.
Yeah, and thank you for that feedback. I think it's really important to be transparent and set the right expectations from the start, and obviously to see things through. So thank you for that. And could you tell me a little bit more about what you learned about yourself through this process, and also by extension of that, what you learned about the team? Because obviously I worked with you in a group exec team setting.
Yeah, I think, just kind of looking at it from a personal and a team dynamic, and what, I don't like the word but I learned, but what we learned is, I think, look, there's always opportunities for self-doubt. I mean, we're all human, and as companies grow, and as we all grow within our team and our positions, you always have a self-reflection of performance and what's needed to get from good to great, as we've talked about. And do you feel that that's something you have within you to get to that point? So I think that's more of kind of getting ready to answer the question. But I think personally, what I found was, we always anchor back to feel that we're doing the right thing. And I think going through the process with you, what it showed us was, although there might be sometimes some self-doubt, or how are we getting to where we want to get. I think what you brought out in us and the team is that ability is there. And I think we truly reflected on the team dynamics and how we work together. So understanding other personal views and views that might not have been shared openly amongst the team before, but having you there as that kind of third party coach, advisor, getting us to really talk about that. I think what it did is it strengthened the team. I think it probably strengthened ourselves a bit to know that, yeah, we've had a couple of what I'd call good, tough years in building the company and the team. And that, understanding our limitations is not necessarily a bad thing, because when you do understand what's required to, let's say, get to that next step, help is only as far as asking for help. So that could be with you, growing the team, or even within the management team. So I think for me, with the timing being what it was and what we learned, was certainly definitely how we work together. But it's only human nature that if you don't feel like maybe how do you get to that next step?
Yeah, and what I'm going to pick up on is that sort of transparent communication within the team, and that existed, but it went to the next level. So the other point that I want to raise here is, when you understand your limitations, that's actually a great thing because you can do something about that when you acknowledge it, rather than burying your head in the sand.
Right. Yeah, that's fair.
And what would you say were the tangible results of the sessions that I carried out with you, and the follow-on impact on Growler Energy?
Yeah. So I think there's numerous positive outcomes. I just think the sessions were fabulous. And, to try and put, I guess, my finger on three, I think we just talked about the first one. I think it was the management team dynamics. I think it was the open, honest dialogue. I think it was clear to me that we all had each other's back, if you want to put it that way, and all had that desire to get to the next step together. So I think we kind of talked about that in the last question. So kind of moving into this one, I think that would be the first one. The other one was interesting. It was when we went through the values, and you were challenging us on the company values, but then also understanding the values of the team. And what came out, which I wasn't expecting, was that the team has the values, and the management team has the values, and really the values we were saying the company was espousing was really our values. So in looking at how we might review our values and our vision, really all we're doing is articulating how we feel, what our values as a team are. And it's then really that represents the company, not the inverse, that the company has values that then we have to espouse. So I found that to be a very interesting exercise, that through the conversation you pulled that out of the team. And that's when we realized, wait, now these are our values, the team values, not necessarily the company's values. So I think that was a very important exercise. And the other thing I think is messaging. We've, as companies grow, you certainly have a feeling that you understand what you're doing, and you then feel that everybody external understands that. But as you grow, things change, and then people remember certain phases of you maybe a couple of years ago. So when we went through that kind of messaging portion of the coaching, what became clear is, yeah, we can do better. And it's not necessarily that we weren't saying the right words, or that other people weren't receiving those words, or had a different view. I think it was just simplicity. So I think that exercise as well, from a messaging point of view, really added clarity. And to be quite frank, we've actually added that into some of our meetings since then, simplifying the company messaging, and just understanding very quickly, who you are, and how you articulate that to people. So I think between, you know, the dynamics of the management team coming together and understanding what we need to do, you know, obviously the values portion, but then again the communications. But again, there's a lot of points I can certainly speak to, but I think those were the few that come to the top.
Thank you for sharing that. And I'm just curious, since you have simplified the messaging, I remember the expression that I used was a 5-year-old child should be able to understand it. Since
Yeah.
you've done that, how has it been received externally?
It's actually been received well. I think we've tested it at home,
Mm,
and we've tested meetings, and I think very quickly, you know, people see exactly what we do, because sometimes we get lost in our own terminology. So when we say certain words like independent power producer, that might not reflect with another person's view. But when you say to somebody that our goal is to harness sun, wind, and water to produce electricity, well, that might make more sense than to somebody who might not be in the industry. So I think, yeah, just yeah, simplifying the messaging certainly helped, and we did test it, and it definitely seems to be working.
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So in terms of the intangible results
Mm.
from working with me, so that's kind of mindset shifts and that kind of thing. What's been happening there?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's the mindset shift and behaviors. I mean, we can, you know, the last question's more about the X's and O's and the tangibles and what have we've done. But I've definitely, and you got to be careful with the word change, because, you know, when you say there's a change, it leaves itself open that maybe things weren't good before the change. But
Yeah.
I think what it is I think the mindset and behaviors were there maybe a little more in a, I don't want to say in an isolated view, but I think when we came together and allowed ourselves to reflect, we realized we had the same mindsets and behavior, but now it became more of a collective than more.
Mm,
And again, individualistic isn't the right word either, but it's just, I just think it brought that out and made it very apparent. We all had the same views, values, alignment, and it's because the other thing too is, you know, when you're building a company, everybody's busy and everybody's trying to do 2 and 3 jobs, and you're not really given the chance to pause and reflect. So I think in this particular case, the timing being what it was, where we brought on a new team member in the management team. Yeah, it allowed that opportunity to just reflect, understand that we do have all the same shared values that we were all espousing anyway. But
mm,
I think that was the, if you want to call it the non-tangible, since we met. Yeah, I just see that that extra jump in our step, or that kind of collectiveness. Again, not saying it wasn't there before, it's just enhancing.
yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And final question, is there anything else that you feel it's important that people know about your time working with me?
Well, I know, I'll say personally, but I've gotten the feedback from the team. We enjoyed it. It was a great session. There was no aversion to wanting to do it, or you know, when it was done, to go, oh, you know the way sessions could be. Sometimes people might you know, see it as interrupting your busy schedule. But I think what we found as a team, and the reflection afterwards, was enjoyment. We had a great time. You know, we're always busy, and you can always find excuses why you shouldn't and can't get together to do these type things. But definitely the time spent was tremendously valuable. But you know, we and I think you can share your comments on this, because you did at the end of it. I don't think what you saw, you probably saw we enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, no, I think it was fun, and that's the
Yeah,
thing. These sessions don't need to be super serious and heavy,
yeah,
because actually you can learn a lot and do a lot through exciting interactions and
yeah,
being more playful about it, such
yeah.
as how would you say this to a 5-year-old, for example?
But look, we had, you know, we had heavy conversations during those sessions, but we had some fun conversations during those sessions. And I think a combination of all those is, I think, what you're trying to do. It's, again, it's an open space. It allows for honesty, and yeah, we learned a lot about each other, the team, and the company, and where we wanted to get, and how best to do that. And I know we always kind of anchor back on, we, at the end of the day, we're just trying to do the right thing. And I think part of the process with you was just doing that. Like, how do we keep doing this, and how do we get better? And you provided a amazing framework for that. So if there's anybody listening to this, I would certainly say, if you want one word, enjoyment. We really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview with me today, Robert. And for anyone listening to this, if you're interested in learning more about my offerings for executive teams within companies, then please do reach out to me for more information. Bye for now.
Thank you, Sarah. Take care.